Well, happy. Okay, happy's relative, right? If it's fulfilling, if it's rewarding. Because I also believe in putting yourself in uncomfortable positions.
I got straight on a plane to return, seeing my wife have to be her strongest and knowing that it's the scariest of news.
What if I told you that Brad Pitt, one of the most famous actors in the world, has been carrying a secret in his heart for decades? What if I told you that despite all the magazine covers, all the red carpet moments, and all the relationships we've watched play out in public, there's one woman who never really left his thoughts? Today, we're going to uncover the truth about Brad Pitt's greatest love story. And trust me, it's not what you think. For over 30 years, Brad Pitt's love life has been front-page news. We've watched him fall in love, get married, have his heart broken, and start over again. But behind all those Hollywood headlines lies a much deeper story. It's a story about a man who's been searching for something real in a world full of fake smiles and camera flashes. And after all these years of watching his romantic journey unfold, we finally understand who truly captured his heart. Let's go back to the beginning, long before Brad became the Brad Pitt we know today. Picture this. It's the mid-1980s, and Brad is just another young guy trying to make it in Hollywood. He's not famous yet. He's not on magazine covers. He's just a sweet, innocent kid from Oklahoma who dreams of becoming an actor. And that's when he met his first real girlfriend, a British pop star named Sunita. They dated for about 2 years, and back then, nobody cared about Brad Pitt's love life because nobody knew who he was. Sunita later described him as this beautiful guy with a body like a Greek god. She said he was fun, sweet, and so innocent. But here's the thing that breaks your heart a little. She didn't realize what she had until it was too late. When Brad shot to fame after his role in Thelma and Louise, Sunita watched from afar and thought, "Oh my God, what did I just let go?" That first heartbreak taught Brad something important about love. It showed him how quickly everything can change, how love can slip through your fingers when you least expect it. But it also planted a seed in his heart, a longing for something that would last longer than fame or fortune. After Sunita, Brad's heart was broken again by an actress named Jill Sholin. They met while filming a horror movie called Cutting Class, and Brad fell so hard that he actually proposed to her. Can you imagine? This young, hopeful actor thinking he'd found his forever person. But Jill had other plans. She fell for the movie's director instead and broke off their engagement. Brad was left devastated, learning once again that love could disappear in the blink of an eye. These early heartbreaks weren't just footnotes in Brad's story. They were shaping the man he would become. Each broken heart made him more determined to find something real, something lasting. Even before he became famous, Brad was already learning that love could leave deep scars, but it could also teach you what you really wanted. As Brad's career started to take off in the late 1980s, he dated a few more women. There was Christina Applegate, who actually left him in the middle of an awards show for another guy. Can you imagine how embarrassing that must have been? Then there was Robin Givens, who was going through a messy divorce with boxer Mike Tyson. The rumors about Brad and Robin got so crazy that Mike Tyson claimed he once found them in bed together, though Robin always denied this story. What's interesting about all these relationships is that every woman who dated Brad during this time described him the same way. Sweet, intense, loyal, and always searching for something deeper. He wasn't interested in casual flings or Hollywood games. Even as a young actor, Brad was looking for real connection, real love, real partnership. Then came Juliette Lewis, and everything changed. They met while filming a movie called Too Young to Die in 1989. Juliette was only 16 when they started dating, and Brad was in his mid-20s. I know what you're thinking. And yes, the age gap was controversial even back then. But what they had together was undeniably intense and real. For 4 years, Brad and Juliette were inseparable. They worked together on movies, walked red carpets together, and seemed to understand each other on a level that went beyond just dating. This wasn't puppy love or a Hollywood publicity stunt. This was raw, honest, complicated love Between two artists who pushed each other to be better. Even years after they broke up, Brad spoke about Juliet with incredible respect and tenderness. In 1995, he said, "I still love the woman. There's some real genius there. I had a great time with her. It was one of the greatest relationships I've ever been in." Those words tell you everything you need to know about how deeply she affected him. Juliet, on the other hand, eventually grew tired of people always asking her about Brad. By 2014, she said, "I'm 40 years old. I quit all my nonsense at 22. There is growth. Get out of the past." For her, their love belonged to a different time in her life. But for Brad, it was a relationship that showed him what real partnership could look like. What Brad and Juliet had together set the stage for every relationship that came after. He learned that he didn't want surface-level connections. He wanted intensity, honesty, and someone who could match his passion for life. Juliet gave him all of that, and even though it didn't last forever, it changed his understanding of what love could be. But if Juliette Lewis was intense and complicated, Gwyneth Paltrow was like a fairy tale come to life. They met on the set of the movie Seven in 1995. For Brad, Gwyneth represented something pure and perfect. She was someone he truly believed could be his forever person. When that relationship ended, it left him shaken but also wiser. He learned that even the most beautiful love stories can fall apart if the timing isn't right. But the memory of what they had together stayed with him, like a ghost of what almost was. By the late 1990s, Brad's life took another dramatic turn when he met Jennifer Aniston. They had actually crossed paths back in 1994 through their managers, but nothing happened then. It wasn't until 1998, after Brad's engagement to Gwyneth had ended and Jennifer was newly single, that sparks finally flew. Their first date was simple but magical. There was laughter, easy conversation, and an instant connection that felt different from anything Brad had experienced before. From that night forward, something just clicked between them. In September 1999, they made their first public appearance together at the Emmy Awards, holding hands and dazzling everyone with their obvious happiness. A few months later, during a Sting concert, Brad got down on one knee and proposed. By July 2000, they were married in an absolutely stunning ceremony in Malibu. With 200 guests, 50,000 flowers, and fireworks lighting up the ocean, their wedding felt like Hollywood royalty celebrating a real-life fairy tale. Jennifer wore a gorgeous silk and satin gown, and Brad looked like the perfect groom. Together, they weren't just another celebrity couple. They were the gold standard of what love in Hollywood could look like. Fans couldn't get enough of their red carpet appearances, their matching outfits, and the way they seemed to genuinely enjoy each other's company. They even worked together professionally, launching Plan B Entertainment and collaborating when Brad made a memorable guest appearance on Jennifer's hit show, Friends. The end of Brad and Jennifer's marriage marked the end of what many considered Hollywood's brightest fairy tale. But the story didn't end quietly. The media turned their separation into a global spectacle, especially when photos surfaced of Brad with Angelina Jolie in Kenya later that year. Suddenly, everyone had an opinion. Jennifer was painted as the heartbroken wife, and Brad was seen as the man who had been stolen away by temptation. Both Brad and Angelina denied that anything romantic had happened while he was still married, insisting that his split from Jennifer was mutual and had nothing to do with anyone else. But the public wanted drama, and a love triangle was born. Jennifer later admitted that the breakup cracked her open emotionally, forcing her to feel raw grief while the entire world watched. She described it as incredibly painful, but also a strange opening of the soul. Brad, meanwhile, stepped into a new chapter with Angelina, but the shadow of his marriage to Jennifer lingered for years. When Brad met Angelina Jolie on the set of Mr. and Mrs. Smith in 2003, he was still married to Jennifer, but their chemistry was immediate and undeniable. Both actors later insisted that nothing romantic happened until after Brad's marriage ended, but even they admitted that working together had created an unexpected bond. Angelina described their time filming as surprisingly joyful. They bonded while performing dangerous stunts, sharing laughs between takes, and gradually realizing they had become a real team. For Angelina, the shift in her feelings came slowly. She found herself looking forward to work each day, surprised by the emotions growing inside her. By January 2005, Brad and Jennifer had separated, and Angelina was already a mother to adopted children Maddox and Zahara. That same year, Brad formally adopted the children, and by 2006, their family named Beck. By 2012, their children were actually urging them to get married. 2 years later, in 2014, they finally tied the knot at their estate in France, in a ceremony that perfectly captured their unique family dynamic. Angelina's dress was decorated with her children's artwork, and the whole event was filled with laughter and love. But even the most seemingly perfect relationships can hide problems beneath the surface. By 2016, cracks in their marriage had become impossible to ignore. On September 20th, Angelina filed for divorce, citing the health of the family as her primary concern. News quickly spread that something dramatic had happened on a private jet between Brad and one of their children. Reports claimed there had been a physical altercation, though Brad denied ever harming any of his kids. Both the Los Angeles Department of Child and Family Services and the FBI investigated the incident, but no charges were filed. For Brad, the collapse of his marriage to Angelina was devastating. He later admitted that he turned to alcohol during this difficult time, using it as a way to cope with watching his family fall apart. Eventually, he sought help through Alcoholics Anonymous and began what he called a long process of self-reflection and repair. The legal battles between Brad and Angelina stretched on for years, involving complicated custody arrangements and financial disputes. In April 2019, they were declared legally single, but their custody and financial agreements weren't fully settled until December 2024. Even now, they continue to fight over Chateau Miraval, the winery they once shared. So after all these relationships, all these love stories, all these heartbreaks and new beginnings, who was truly the love of Brad Pitt's life? The answer might surprise you, because it's not necessarily who you think it is. Looking back at Brad's entire romantic journey, from his. So while the world may always be fascinated by Brad Pitt's romantic life, the man himself seems to have found something even more valuable: self-acceptance, sobriety, and a deep commitment to being the best father he can be to his 6 children. That doesn't mean his romantic story is over. At 60 years old, Brad still has many years ahead of him, and who knows what the future holds. But one thing is certain: whatever love comes next will be different from what came before, because Brad himself is different. He's older, wiser, more self-aware, and more committed to real emotional health than ever before. Maybe that's the most beautiful love story of all. A man who spent decades searching for someone to complete him, only to discover that he had to complete himself first. Maybe the greatest confession Brad Pitt could make isn't about any particular woman being the love of his life, but about finally learning to love himself enough to break the patterns that had been holding him back. The Hollywood fairy tales we grew up watching taught us that love stories should end with marriage and happily ever after. But real life is messier, more complicated, and ultimately more interesting than any movie script. Brad Pitt's love story is still being written, and the most important chapters might still be ahead of him. What we can say for certain is that every woman who loved Brad Pitt helped shape him into the man he is today. Sunita, Jill, Juliet, Gwyneth, Jennifer, and Angelina all left their mark on his heart and contributed to his understanding of what love really means. Each relationship was important, each heartbreak was necessary, and each new beginning brought him closer to understanding himself. And maybe that's the real confession we've all been waiting for: that love isn't about finding the perfect person, but about becoming the person capable of sustaining perfect, seek love. After decades of searching, Brad Pitt might have finally found what he was looking for all along, not in another person, but in his own capacity for growth, healing, and authentic connection. If you've made it this far in Brad Pitt's incredible love story, I want to hear from you in the comments below. Which of his relationships do you think impacted him the most? Do you believe he'll find lasting love again? Or do you think he's already found what he was searching for? And what do you think is the most important lesson we can learn from his romantic journey? Don't forget to smash that like button if this story touched your heart the way it touched mine. Share this video with anyone who loves a good Hollywood love story. And make sure to subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the real lives of your favorite celebrities. Trust me, we've got so many more incredible stories to tell, and you won't want to miss a single one. Until next time, keep believing in love, keep growing, and keep being authentic to yourself, just like Brad Pitt is finally learning to do.